the bounty hunters. You know, you're not the first person to tell me that. Probably not. I'm told you've seen multiple psychiatrists. Still am. One tomorrow and another 3 days after that, Slytherin says. Good, she says. So who was it that trying to take me from my family? Unfortunately, the concerns were raised anonymously. Wait, what? Isn't this whole thing happening because we basically did something big and a lot of people are trying to be seen as doing something, Slytherin asks. Clearly, you haven't seen the noble courts of Lablon when in session. There's the big debates that get broadcasted, but it's not hidden at all that the nobles have a large feast beforehand. And afterwards it started because many debates would take a long time, and it was considered impolite to have them debate hungry or go home hungry. The broadcasts begin and end with a view of the massive get-together of the nobles snacking and socializing, which is a point when a lot of them will boast, brag, or otherwise try to improve their standing. Someone wants to look good, but also have room to back out. So who's doing this is never going to admit anything because I'm not going anywhere, Slytherin asserts. Oh, probably. There are a few big things about visits like this, and between the clear care your parents have for you, your desire to stay, and how prosperous your current life seems to be, I have no reason to even suggest you be removed from this environment. Even with my going into combat, you've made it quite clear that it's been your choice. And while concerning, well, not to be rude, but it's quite clear that you've already faced just every awful the galaxy can throw at you. Fair enough. If I get in a worst day contest, I can beat anyone hands down with no real question, Slytherin says with a bit of a smirk. You actually did, didn't you? Maybe. I'll keep it to myself, though, Slytherin says with an open smile and a slight huff of amusement. So this leads me to my next question. Is there anything that you think could be improved? A way for life to be better? Less nightmares would be nice, but I'm already working on that. Oh, and a swarm of super drones that can construct a massive mountain-scale combat drone, so when I arrive on a world, the whole thing feels it. And for desires that won't potentially provoke an all-out war? Maybe the bio upgrade for a more human-like digestive tract? They're still working on it for Nagasha, though. Why do you want that? Well, that snack I shared, it was tasty, wasn't it? Very. Well, apparently while they're really close, they're not as good as the full flavors humans and Canadors can get. This is already great food. If I can get food even better, and be massively resistant to almost all poisons across the galaxy, hell yes. Don't they also have to eat and drink more? Oh no, I get the really good food and need to have more of it to compensate. However will I survive? Slytherin jokes and Herika smiles. Yes, that was the definition of a teenage reaction. Okay, I get it, she says in a playful tone. Now, there was a mention when I was speaking to your parents about a prank they pulled on you recently. How did that work out? Did you get them back? I did. And the prank was they gave me an extra pillow without telling me and taped it to the ceiling above my bed. But the pillowcase was made of a new material that can't be seen by people with axiom in their nervous system. But everyone has that. Everyone but humans. It's the secret to their new stealth armor. To them, it's a big, stark, white mess that would stand out in a snowstorm. It's so white. To us, maybe thin mist as you're looking for it and right at it, he says. When they told me about it, I looked for the mist and found the pillow. So I have an extra the pillowcase. You've technically seen it already. What? Where? Herika asks. I put it over one of Jade's projects in the lab. Her helmet. I didn't move it. It's still there. She's going to go insane looking for it. That's mean, Herika says around a laugh. Still, teasing your sister? Cousin? Cousin. Teasing your cousin is one thing. Did you get back at your dad? It wasn't just him, so I got every human I could. All 10? Technically? I was caught in the act by one, but, well, he kind of ruined it by being completely okay with it. What did you do? They don't have pits, Slytherin says, indicating the scale pattern around his neck and the subtle and natural holes in them. From the distance between them, they're not visible, but she does remember seeing them, so her mind fills in the gaps. They can't sense heat like I can, so I tag their rooms with transparent thermal paste. There's now some writing in the warmth to mock them. I've heard that in Great Plains Nagasha, the sensory pits are more powerful than the other races. Is this true? I don't really know. I've only ever been a Great Plains Nagasha, and it's as powerful as sight or hearing, so I don't know. I never really compared it, and other Nagasha still have them, so he shrugs. Fair enough, what did you write? Just some insults. Nothing over the top, though. Although, considering how hard Dad rolled his eyes at me, he can probably see it fairly well with his eye. Can you with yours? Yes, but I don't flick on that setting too often. I don't usually need the level of detail that the eye gives me, and it's just more, I don't know. It feels almost wrong to say natural, but that's it. It's like heat shouldn't be seen but sensed. Also, seeing it is unnatural to Nagasha. Yes, something being literally something is usually why it feels like that's something, she says in a playful tone, and Slytherin snorts. Right, well, it's kinda dumb, but I prefer sensing heat through the pits and not the eye, but there's more detail and a zoom feature on this, he says, poking the eye. The sensation is always kinda weird, but not painful to poke the cybernetic eye. There are kinetic senses there and he can feel it move, but there's no pain receptors. Oh, speaking of features, I read that you got some upgrades to your prosthetics. I saw you work those drones like extensions of yourself, and the eye is clearly an awesome tool. But what about the fingers? What do they do? Oh, the fingers? They have two main features. First is that I can run heavy charge through them. Not enough to cause real damage, but enough to bring even a Canador to their knees. At which point I need to slither away fast or she's going to make me put up with it myself. What happened? I may or may not have, might have reacted badly to being patted on the head after I was digging up something that made touching me, something I really didn't want. Have you worked your way through that with her? Yes, we've kept a respectful distance from each other. She hasn't touched me without permission since. Does it happen often? Only on really, really bad days. I wasn't able to push it back, so being touched at the wrong time set me off. It's only happened 3 times this time. Thankfully, people are good at dodging flailing hands or a tail swat. Only reason I got Onyx with the taser fingers was because they were new, and when I swatted at her, she didn't think it needed dodging. Did she actually turn your tasers onto yourself, or it was just a threat about what would happen if I did that again? She hasn't had to follow through. Fair enough. Are threats common? Not serious ones. I mean, I've threatened to put my boots up someone's ass and then turn to another person in the room to ask if could borrow their boots. Sounds a little forced. Yeah, it wasn't my best, but I did do that. You actually put someone's boots up someone else's rear, Hareka asks in an incredulous tone and startles a laugh out of Slytherin. No, I never actually even tried to follow through. There's all sorts of goofy, silly things you can say to threaten someone, and if it's done right, it doesn't sound like a threat and isn't actually one. That's what's going on a lot. If I get really annoying, I'll be told they'll use me as a jump rope or something, and I've threatened to swallow some of the guys whole like earth snakes who dislocate their jaws to swallow things whole. It's just being goofy, you know? I think so, but from my understanding, it's actually a very male way of interacting with others. Very military, too. I've spent time with military families, and I've heard some hilarious threats. My favorite was another Weaver Archena, like myself, with a potent axiom tattoo that allowed her to quickly regrow limbs, threatening to break off a leg over someone's head. The result was all her daughters piling onto her to pin her down and stop her. And then they started tickling. Oh, and they can do this too. I've been working it into my martial arts training, Slytherin says, holding up his hands and his fingers locked together and project blades of hard light. It's not as sharp as carrying something like a monomolecular blade or the like, but unless they're in armor, I can cause some serious damage with these. They're certainly intimidating. Did you choose the pale pink color? Mom chose it. She likes pink and thinks I look good in it. I don't, but, well, Slytherin trails off a little. I understand, Hareka says, and he nods as he deactivates the blades. Was there anything else done with your cybernetics? Not really. I mean, there were patches and cloned implants put in my tail to replace the sheer meat ripped out of me, but that only broke up my scale pattern. But I can live with a couple of brown circles on green scales, being having a few breaks in them, Slytherin says regarding his scales. I see, they're more aesthetic than anything, though. They almost look like a style choice that some youths go for. Harika assures him, and he shrugs. Oh, about style. What about your clothing? Everyone around here seems to be wearing a jacket. Are you all right with that? Oh, yeah, I like 'em. They're comfy enough, warm, and have lots of pockets for drones, tools, snacks, and whatever else I want, Slytherin says with a smile. I mean, it can interfere with my thermal pits a bit, but I can slip it off in a hurry and start sensing heat all around me again rather than right ahead. Is it uncomfortable? She asks, and he considers. I can't really say. I I think we can agree I've got a pretty high pain threshold. If it is uncomfortable, then it's so low compared to, well, he gestures to his face. That I don't even notice. Well, have you considered wearing more traditional Nagasha clothing? Just to see if it feels better? Harika asks, and he considers. Maybe, but traditional Nagasha male clothing generally has such a huge neck hole that it probably looks kind of weird to the rest of the crew. And do you think that they'll make fun of you for it? Well, will they make fun? Yes, but I don't think they'll be mean about it. They've mostly kind of stuck to more human-style shirts and they fit fine, and I never even thought to ask for something else. Hell, I wanted thicker and more neck-full shirts at first. Did you? I sort of hidden them, he asks, and Harika nods. That's very normal. The urge to wrap up in something both protective and comfy is something that everyone feels when they've gone through something horrible. Harika says, You said I'm not going to be taken away, right? Right. Then, not to be rude, but why are we still talking? Your job is to check if I need to be taken away from here, right? Well, the answer is no. So what are you looking for now? He asks, and Harika nods. We can stop now, if you'd like. She offers, and he thinks, well, I don't know, I don't need this kind of help, and there's probably someone else who needs it somewhere else, and am I taking that up? Is someone getting hurt because you're here to help me when I don't need it, but they do? No, she says, and he looks startled at the abrupt answer. Looking for guilt and blame when you're being helped is silly. Not to mention, it's just not healthy to think like that. Yes, there are people that do need my help, but I'm not the only person working in child protection services. Also, your new family seems to have given you a bit of a skewed perspective. Yes, there are other people that need help, but they're not going to find me rappelling down the side of the cliffs of utter madness to literally pull them out of an unending sea of darkest nightmares and bear them upwards into unending salvation while outracing some giant eel creature with drills for fangs. And she has to stop as Slytherin is now trying and mostly failing to suppress his laughter at the image. As you can probably guess, I've had this conversation before. Although I must admit, I'll need to find some way to work in a gestalt with three. No, let's say a 4-part gestalt that's trying to stop my rescue by cutting the web, forcing me to climb the tar-slicked walls and... Okay, I get it. Good. Now, do you feel like you want to keep talking? Well, that's a no, but I don't want to be rude. Yichuano, isn't it? Yeah, I'm fine with a no. I still have a bit of a checklist to go through, though, so you're not just launching me out the airlock. But you already said that, Chow. It's for official reasons. Even if the scenario is clearly, obviously and undoubtedly one way or the other, you still need to go through the entire list to make sure, and so that those who review these cases have no doubts either. My work gets checked to make sure I make the right calls. So if you feel the need to talk to me again or just want to avoid me, I'll be around for a while yet, and I will not be hiding where, or go, or when. What more do you need to do? I need to finish my tour of the ship, look over your education so far, and have at least a short interview with every other long-term resident here. This ship has been like this for less than a year. Does anyone count as long-term? By most standards, no, but by the standard of, do you have plans to leave the area or live elsewhere? Then that's a yes. Exactly. Also, if I have time, and I should, I'd like to talk with Jade. We've run into some people who have had their minds lost before, and there are a few tricks that should help her. But if she's walking, talking, and learning, then she's doing very well for herself. Could you not tell her about what I did in her half of the workshop? Only if it hasn't gone too far. If she's honestly upset, I will tell her what happened. Can I get some warning then? I will do my best. All right, that's good now. Uh, you're finished talking with me? Yes. You can leave. I still need to jot down some notes for the official record. Okay, Slytherin says and slithers off the couch and quickly heads for the exit.